Good afternoon and welcome to this celebration. We are very excited today to celebrate the opening of the Bremerton Tunnel. It's been long awaited. This new tunnel is a great asset for the community and the downtown revitalization effort. We've had dedicated partners on this tunnel: the federal, state, city, and local community, business community, and a very good contractor. Our federal funding, our state federal funding that we used as well, and hard work, commitment, and a contribution by our local Transportation Improvement Board from Washington State helped make this project a reality. I'd like to introduce those who are sitting up front. First, I mentioned our great contractor. It's the contractor state partnership that's getting projects done all over the state in Washington today. I'd like to introduce our Tri-State Project Manager, Ryan McBride. Ryan doesn't look like a contractor today, but many times when we came down and walked through the tunnel, he had his dirty boots on, and it was great to get to see the progress on this project. We have Gary Sexton here today, who's the Director of Community Economic Development, yes, for the City of Bremerton. Gary was instrumental in all of the details as we worked out the knitting together of this facility that's a city street, a state asset for our ferry exiting, and something that will be part of the Bremerton downtown revitalization. And there were daily, hourly, and minute conversations to make sure this all happened. We have WashDOT's Olympic Region Administrator, Kevin Dayton. Part of the great team of WashDOT that gets things done in our state. And WashDOT Assistant Secretary for Ferries, David Mosley. David gave us a great briefing as we came across from Seattle to be able to look at and understand some of the challenges the ferry communities have had in the unsustainable, lack of sustainable, I'm not sure the word, funding that we've had, and the commitment that our Washington State Legislature made this year on Washington's marine highways, that they will be sustained and they will go on. I'd like to introduce Congressman Norm Dix. Some of these folks will be talking here soon. Of course, our governor of the great state of Washington, Governor Gregoire. And U.S. Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood. First, I'd like to ask Gary Sexton to come up and give us a few words about this project. Gary.
Thank you. This is an opportunity for us to thank. We've built a lot of projects here in Bremerton in the last 6 or 7 years, and the thanks, we've gone on and on with the thanks, and this is another example where we get to thank our federal and state partners for their contributions and their trust in us, because they've put the money forward, they've put the commitment forward, they've said that we trust you for what you're going to do, and we produce for them. So I want to thank, obviously, Congressman Dix, who has been there all the time and is from here. Governor Gregoire, she has become a tremendous supporter. When I'm around the state, different places, I hear that she said good things about Bremerton and that we're leading in what we're doing. Obviously, Secretary, we're just excited that you're here. I mean, I don't recall that we've ever had the Secretary of Transportation here, and it's an example of where we are. Paula Hammond has been nothing. When she first got this project, we have talked many, many, many times, and sometimes she'd say, will you call me instead of calling Norm, and we'll get these things done. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful time through. A tri-state with Ryan McBride. Ryan McBride came into this job and has been road tough the whole time. He's a great contractor. Brendan Clark, I'm sure is somewhere here, was the on-site person for the state of Washington. Has been wonderful. Former Mayor Kerry Bozeman, true partner in what we've done. And I can't say anything about all the people here in the city of Bremerton. This has been tough at times because of the traffic. I think the other projects we've done maybe taught us to get through some of this thing, but thank you all for that. I have on the wall in my office a saying, when cities are designed around cars and traffic, you get more cars and traffic. Whereas if you begin to plan cities for people and public places, you get more people and public places. And that's what this is all about. It started now a full 6 years ago when Norm and Carrie Bozeman and I were down, and we were trying to figure out how to accomplish our vision of creating a waterfront city, typical around the United States, of making it friendly to people and a public place. And one of us said, what about a tunnel? Now, I have to admit, over the years, some of us will own up to whether it was our idea or not, depending on how the public is responding at times, but it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. When we started, there were two main streets in Bremerton, Pacific Avenue and Washington Avenue, and both had become, over the last 50 years, designed for strictly cars and parking lots to get us to Seattle and get us into the shipyard. And we've transformed that as we did. We got 12 people together and said, what's the best plan? And we started in Art Anderson's office and said, ultimately, the problem here is the cars coming in have a way to get to the ferry and they have a holding place. But coming off the ferry, we have 5 lanes of traffic and they all have to get off so more cars can get off. And they were meant to get out of town. So it wasn't pedestrian friendly. And we said, what's the best solution? Not what's the cheapest, but what's the best solution for the future? And we got this plan because basically we knew that the problem was the cars coming off the ferry. We took that back to Congressman Dix. He was excited. We went over to Senator Murray's office, and Senator Murray said, A, it helps people, B, it helps pedestrians, C, it creates safety, and D, it helps traffic, and I'll support your project as well. And then the state has picked up as well. After that, as we were starting this project, as a result of 9/11, the Navy had to purchase the property that you now see the plaza on top. And as a result of that, we added 2 things. One, we added a security requirement that we have to keep cars safe for part of it, but we also added the land. So when you go walk through the tunnel today, when you hit the first turn, you'll be going into the federal land. So we're actually in a national security zone as you walk through this tunnel. It tremendously helped us financially. It was another partnership between the U.S. Navy and Puget Sound Naval Shipyard, and it's worked out extremely well. We've had tremendous coordination with the Navy, with Puget Sound Naval Shipyard, and the securities, the ferries, Kitsap Transit, the City of Bremerton, our City Council, and we've worked through our public needs. One last example is when you'll walk through, you'll see beautiful murals in here. And that was Tri-State. Ryan came to us and said, because as we were developing it, we had to do some cost savings, and there were originally white tiles in here. We took out the white tiles as cost saving, and Ryan came and said, we were on another project and we have these great murals there, and we can give those to you and cover the cost jointly. So you have these murals, I think you'll find are a huge difference. And last, I believe the governor was here a couple weeks ago and made a comment while she was speaking to Carrie Bozeman that you could probably be an example for, with your renovation down here for Seattle. And maybe you could tell them that, and then mention, well, I think you already did. Well, now with this tunnel, we can again say we have an example for Seattle. Thank you.
Gary could go on all day about the work that's going on in downtown Bremerton because it's truly amazing. I want to take the opportunity to introduce just a few other people. This was a project that came to being ready to construct just about the time the run-up in costs and inflation for the 2005 to 2008 a tremendous 40 to 60% inflation we saw in construction materials. We found ourselves time and time again saying, okay, now what's the completion cost? Because we got to cover this project to make sure we can get it done. We went to our state legislature. I want to introduce Representative Judy Cliburn, the chair of the House Transportation Committee, and Senator Chris Marr, who's the Vice Chair of the Senate Transportation Committee. And they enabled us to use some of our federal formula funds to help complete this project, but still we found ourselves a little bit short. So we went to our good friend Steve Gorcester. Where are you, Steve? There you are. At the Transportation Improvement Board, and worked closely with this state-funded group. Transportation Improvement Board is state-funded but provides grants for just this kind of a thing: economic development and beautification and revitalization of communities around the state. And thank you, Steve, once again. Heidi Stam, board member somewhere, there you are. Thank you again for support of this project. I'd like next to turn to Kevin Dayton, who is the regional administrator for WashDOT, to give you just a little more detail, and I mean a little, on this project to help folks understand what went into it. This much. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. I just want to reiterate the partnership here. No project gets built by itself. It takes funding, it takes plans, but it takes innovation. It takes a team that works together. And we had in our contractor, Tri-State, probably one of the most innovative contractors I've had the privilege of working with. Ryan McBride was introduced earlier. He led the effort. Our Port Orchard office, Brendan Clark and his team led this. They formed a partnership that was really second to none. 2 years ago today, we broke ground on this job, and quite frankly, they will probably tell you it seems like 2 years, but for me, it doesn't seem that long, because they took care of all the details, and there are details every single day. There are innovations, there are creativities that come into a project like this, and they were just at full steam the whole time, and so I really want to thank them. The other thing I want to do is thank the community and the ferries. For 2 years, we were in their backyard. Seemed like the day after the groundbreaking, we began diverting traffic, digging sewer lines, and really just disrupting it. Every time I came up to this project, traffic was more or less in a different configuration. So I would like to thank the community and the ferries for putting up with this project for 2 years. I know it wasn't easy, but if you look behind me today, you're going to say it's worth it. What a wonderful, wonderful facility. It's going to help us move transportation through Bremerton, offload the ferries. It's going to provide a great deal of safety for pedestrians by literally separating vehicles and pedestrians. And it's really going to add to the walkability of the downtown area. So I am so proud of the team that did this. I'd like to see us all give them a round of applause. Paula?
I'd like to recognize just two more people here, actually three. Dick Hayes from Kitsap Transit. You were a great partner in making all of this work. Former Mayor Carrie Bozeman. Couldn't have done it without you. And my predecessor, Doug McDonald, who was the secretary that I think it was Doug that came into my office one day and said, Norm just called, and I told him we're going to help him get this done, and we're going to get it done on time. So that was great that Doug led the way, and now we've finished this up. I'd like now to introduce Governor Chris Gregoire. She is my boss, and she's always telling me on time, on budget, be accountable. We've heard that several times today, Governor. I just can't say enough about how Governor Gregoire stepped forward as she took office and started learning more and more about transportation and the challenges that our state has had, to say, well, I really am a governor that's interested in education and social services and health care, but by golly, this looks like it's a challenge that needs to be dealt with, and she stepped up and solved some very critical issues, made decisions for us that were long overdue, and I couldn't think of a better person to work for. So Governor Chris Gregoire.
Thank you, Paula. I want to start by saying a big thank you to Secretary LaHood. This is a historic moment for this community, but actually for the entire state of Washington. And Secretary LaHood, I want you to know that it is just a wonderful partnership with you as Secretary and the Obama administration. And we want to thank you for your leadership, your willingness to come on the ground and see what's happening so that you can carry the message back to Washington, D.C. Thank you for being here and being a part of this new team. Before I go any further, there are three people here who have been stalwarts in the legislature with the chair and the vice chair in making sure that this community was recognized and its issues were identified, and that people in the legislature stepped up to the mark to make sure that they got the word out about what was needed here. And those three, of course, are Senator Kilmer, Representative Sequist, Representative Angel. Would you please stand so we can recognize and thank the three of you? I want you to know that as national governors, we have spoken now for several years about the need to invest in the infrastructure of America, that if we want a vibrant community and a vibrant economy, that we simply had to step up and invest in the infrastructure across this nation. And I want you to know that the Obama administration has stepped up to the challenge, not just now, but with a vision for the future. And Secretary LaHood is building a 21st century economy with an infrastructure that will meet our needs. And it is a pleasure to take him here to Bremerton on a bright, sunshiny day. The sun came out as we came across on the ferry. It is a new chapter here in this very exciting city. And of course, I want to join in the chorus of a big thanks and congratulations. It is a momentous day for Congressman Norm Dix as he looked back and reflected on his career. He named two other very important things that he did, and this was the third that he wanted to recognize as pivotal in his career as one of the best congressmen in the United States Congress. I want you to know, Norm, how much we appreciate you and your amazing leadership. Thank you and congratulations. Today truly is a day of celebration. I'm excited to have you go through and see not only how good it is in terms of structure, but how beautiful this new tunnel is. So to those of you who've made this happen, this is a piece of artwork on top of a very important place for the people to get through, for pedestrian traffic in downtown Bremerton to enjoy. And now our drivers and our pedestrians alike can count on a commute that is safe and expedient. It's worth celebrating a tunnel that represents 2 years of jobs in this community, which was very important at a critical time. And it's worth celebrating that it embodies the renewed spirit, truly renewed spirit, former mayor, renewed spirit in this area that we are all now a witness to, of renovation, of hope, of a great future. This is one more piece in that big puzzle. It is so exciting to come here. Norm took the secretary right out. Look at this park that we have out here. Isn't this amazing? And we even painted the building over here for the United States Navy to be a part of the vibrancy of the community. Over 2.5 million people travel by ferry to Bremerton every year. This, I hope, is an opportunity to bring more tourism. That's what's important for this community. That's what much of the vibrancy downtown is about. The tunnel, of course, will bring drivers to their jobs more easily. It will welcome tourists to Bremerton and this community at large. It will be important to return home to our families in a wonderful, timely way. It will bring a new vitality to local businesses by increasing pedestrian traffic. It is a well-deserved celebration, but I want to acknowledge, it goes without saying, we're in tough economic times. Times that cry out now, more than ever. As I look back at the Depression and ask how did they get through it, they got through it because they became closer as a community. They looked out for their fellow human beings. They looked out for their friends and their neighbors and their co-workers or the stranger down the street. And frankly, that is the spirit of Bremerton. It is a community at large who looks out for everyone, makes sure that it's got a vibrant economy, that it is held together with a value system and a culture and a history and a future like nothing you can see around this state and around this nation. So I come here today to say thank you to all of you for putting up with the construction. I hope you're proud of what you've done as a community. I hope you see the future, which is bright for this community at large, and it's just great to be here and be a part of the celebration. Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you, Governor. We've always in our state enjoyed good relationships with our federal agencies, Federal Highways, Federal Transit Association especially, of course the Navy. It's been great, though, in the short tenure of President Obama's administration to understand that we truly have a new partner in the other Washington. And I am very pleased to introduce today Secretary Ray LaHood of the U.S. Department of Transportation, who is quickly becoming our friend. I've met him, I think, 3 times now, and each time I'm impressed and come back to brag about the fact that a decision was made on the spot, action was taken, and answers are given quickly. And I'm just so pleased to be able today to introduce Secretary Ray LaHood.
Thank you very much. Hello, Bremerton. I'll tell you why I came here, because of my great affection for Norm Dix. I served in the House of Representatives, and I know you all feel that way too. I served in the House of Representatives for 14 years. In several of those years, I served on the Appropriations Committee. There is no greater patriot in America than Norm Dix. There is no better congressman in America than Norm Dix. And there's no better friend of Bremerton than Norm Dix. He loves this community. His long service has served all of you so well, and certainly the state of Washington and also America. His love for the military, his commitment to the military, his commitment to America, and his commitment to his hometown community is long-standing. And so I came here really because of my great affection for Norm. And he's been telling me about this project, and he invited me to come. And as we were coming through in the antique cars, and I want to thank Mel Phelps. Where's Mel at? Mel, thank you for organizing our transportation here. He also worked on this project, but coming through, as you all have a chance to walk through and see the beauty of this. This is not just a tunnel. It's not just an avenue for cars. It is magnificent the way that it was designed, and it will make a difference in this community. It will make a difference in Bremerton, and it will make a difference in the quality of life for the downtown. This underground passage is not very long, but it's mostly out of sight, and it's going to have an impact. The U.S. Department of Transportation is proud to support the tunnel as the latest in a long line of civic improvements in this busy port city. And I want to thank the governor, I want to thank the Secretary of Transportation, and all the local officials and boosters who worked so hard to bring new vitality to this century-old city. Could not have been done without Congressman Norm Dix. Like cities everywhere, Bremerton is continually adapting, evolving to meet every generation's demand for good jobs, affordable housing, modern infrastructure, and reliable transportation. That's the secret to success. When President Roosevelt and Truman visited Bremerton more than 60 years ago, the local economy was fueled mainly by war-related shipbuilding. Today, ship repair is still a big business in Bremerton, but the city is also a part of a larger, more complex, and more mobile urban community. Times have changed, and so must the infrastructure that Bremerton offers its residents and businesses. The tunnel will take 140 cars a day off the streets of downtown, clearing the way for more pedestrian-friendly developments and unobscured access to new waterfront shops, condos, and parkland. This is an important step forward in Bremerton's efforts to modernize the central business district and entice more people to live, work, and play in Bremerton. One of our top priorities at DOT is to invest in projects in cities like Bremerton to help them become more livable and sustainable by reducing traffic congestion, improving air quality, and providing access to good public transportation, employment, and housing. The tunnel project fits squarely on those goals. I also want to say a word before I conclude about your governor and the team that she has put together on transportation, and also about the transportation senator for the country, Senator Patty Murray. What we are doing in Washington could not be done without the team that the governor has put in place here, and also without the many, many efforts and hard work of Senator Patty Murray. I was just with the senator earlier today. She is one of the most, if not the hardest working senator on transportation issues, and to join up and team up with Norm and the entire delegation, you are so well represented in this state by a great congressional delegation who cares very much about transportation issues, and it's a delight for me to be a part of President Obama's administration to talk about livable communities like Bremerton and to have a team to work with out here in your state and your governor. You should all be very, very proud as citizens of this great state for the leadership that you have in the state capitol and in Washington, D.C. I am delighted to be here to help the celebration today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Secretary. I'd like to also recognize Representative Christine Rolfes. Somehow you got in here and we didn't see you. Wave your hand. Oh, there she is in the back. Another good supporter of Kitsap County and a lot of the ferry solutions that we had to work through this year. Thank you, Representative. This morning, as we were all gathered up by the University of Washington talking about transportation in our state and in Puget Sound, we talked a lot about livable communities, and it's one of the hallmarks of the Obama administration. And when I think about what's a livable community and how does that translate from a transportation project into the kinds of things we've been trying to do, I think about this project, and I think about the fact that Congressman Norm Dix has been working on making communities livable for many, many years. And so, Norm, you're the poster child, and you have been the person who has made sure it happened with that loud, booming voice of yours and your can-do attitude. So please help me welcome Congressman Norm Dix.
Secretary LaHood, Governor Gregoire, Paula, Gary, David Mosley, who's head of the ferry system, Brad, thank you for the great job, Kevin, and Chris and Judy, thank you for being here from the state legislature. It means a lot to me, and I want to thank all my colleagues from our area who were introduced earlier. And I want to also recognize our friends from the Navy, particularly Captain Olson and Captain Whitney and Rick Tiff. Would you please stand and be recognized? Is that Admiral Simon out there? Admiral, please stand up and be recognized. Thank you. And thank you for the great vocalist and our National Guard band. We wanted to make this a festive occasion. And I just want to tell you that I've had a few great friends and partners in my career, and especially on my time on the Appropriations Committee. But one of the people who I really respect is Ray LaHood, our Secretary of Transportation. He served in the House. He tried to recreate bipartisanship. And I believe in that. I don't think anything in Congress or anything in the legislature of any real significance happens unless the two parties can come together. And Ray LaHood did more than anybody that I saw on the Republican side to try to reach out to Democrats, to try to build bridges. In fact, had conferences and trying to restore bipartisanship. And that means a lot to me, and I'm glad that he's here at the time to be here. Also, he had the great experience that I had. He worked for Bob Michael and Tom Railsback, two of the finest Republicans to ever serve the state of Illinois, as the administrative assistant to them. I had the chance to work for Senator Magnuson, and he'd be proud today, by the way. And my good friend Dan O'Neill's here with his wife Diane. Dan was my first boss on Senator Magnuson's staff, and later became our transportation consul and chairman of the Interstate Commerce Commission, and a great friend. And Bob Drewell's here from, I think Bob was mentioned, for the Puget Sound Regional Council, and Doug McDonald, who when we started this project was there and helped us. And I want to recognize the members of the City Council and Mayor Bozeman. Kerry Bozeman and I and Sexton were the three who came up with this idea. And so I had some nights when I didn't know whether I'd done the right thing. But when you see this project, this finished project, this tunnel, I think you will agree with me that it was the right thing to do. And as I said at the City Council when they had a very tight vote on this project, there's only a certain time when you can do these things. When you have a member of Congress on the Appropriations Committee who's been there for his whole career, you got a chance to do something like this. We did a project in Tacoma, the Tacoma Spur. That was $177 million in 1978 and gave Tacoma a link to the interstate. We did the tunnel in Seattle for the bus traffic, to take the bus traffic off of 3rd Avenue. That was $80 million of federal money. And I felt, after analyzing this and listening to all the experts, the people who know transportation, that this was the right thing to do for Bremerton. Kerry Bozeman, stand up, Kerry. I want you to stand up and be recognized here. He's the guy. Kerry Bozeman came up with the idea of a pedestrian-friendly downtown Bremerton area. Well, you cannot be pedestrian-friendly when that traffic comes off that ferry and rips up Washington Avenue. With all due respect, I watched it go off tonight. It was stopped up. There's a big conflict there at First Street. We had to have this tunnel, and I was in a position to do it. We guaranteed the money, and we got it done. And I'm proud of it, and I hope you'll be proud of it. And I just want to say also to my governor, to Chris Gregoire, who's been a fantastic friend and supporter, thank you for your help. And Frank Chop, who couldn't be here today, from East Bremerton, I'm a West Bremerton boy, the Speaker of the House, who really, when I was really in trouble, and I was short $3 million. Of course, I kept getting short $3 million. I called Frank, and Frank said, you know, I haven't asked for a project this year. I said, well, would you help me on my tunnel? And Frank put up $3 million to the state capital budget fund. So everybody has had a part in this, and Paula Hammond has been wonderful to work with, took over after Doug. And yes, this was a challenge to get this done. But I'm proud of it. I think it's going to help us with our whole revitalization of downtown. When you think of what's happened, with the convention center, with Anthony's, the hotel, and Gary Sexton. Let's give Gary, those two parks are phenomenal. The Memorial Park and the Fountain Park. I mean, this is a genius at this kind of work. I told Sexton he had finally found a legitimate profession. After all, he's a lawyer like I am. And I said, you had all this talent, and I said, you discovered it so late in life. Actually, that's not true, because but Sexton did do a great job. He isn't always the easiest guy to deal with, but he gets it right when he takes something on. And all of you in the audience who know Gary know I'm right. But he's my good friend. We went to law school together. We used to play a lot of gin during the afternoons at law school, and he's a pretty good gin player. Anyway, I want to thank everybody from Bremerton for having tolerated this 2 years. And the contractor, Tri-State Construction. This is a phenomenal job. They did it. We also did a combined sewer overflow problem. We had other issues that made the cost go up a little bit, all within reason. We happened to hit the time when concrete and steel went up. But when you think of the value that we're going to receive out of this for the next 50 years and beyond, I think you can say this was a worthwhile investment. And as Ray knows, people talk about projects and members of Congress and that. I want you to know, I think members of Congress know their districts better than people in the executive branch. We come from these areas. We live here. We can work with the local people. And that's why we did this project. So thank you all for coming today. And Ray, thank you so much for being here. It really means a lot to me personally that you came out. And we've got this, we showed him the ferry system, told him about our dreams of a fast foot ferry, and we still have things to do, but we're making real progress. Bremerton looks a lot better. We still have a ways to go. Thank you very much.
All right, now the moment we've been waiting for. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Hey!